Something interesting happened the other day. It was really unusual, so I thought it is worth sharing it with you. I've been preparing a new program for some upcoming recitals. As one does, the practice intensity has been going up for the past few weeks. So I was practicing through a passage in the style of a broken CD, you know, that wonderful 5 to 50 repetition practice that I've spoken about in some previous videos, when someone knocked at the front door with an urge. And believe me, I know this urge. After living for over 10 years in London and being surrounded by predominantly problematic neighbors, I can recognize this urge from a mile away. Although I'm now living in Budapest, my automatic presumption was that the knock is something that translates to all cultures, transcends all borders, if you will, or at least so I thought. I went to open the door, cautiously, yet still trying to keep my cool, and who is there? Surprise, surprise. The neighbor, giving me that familiar, piercing look. Before I could even say anything, she asked, "Oh, you must be the pianist, right?" And you can already imagine what was going on in my mind after this question. Then, out of nowhere, to my astonishment, she smiles at me and she tells me in these exact words, "Thank you so much for your beautiful playing. We are all very happy and honored that a pianist like you chose to live in our building. I spoke to the neighbors and everybody really enjoys your playing." Huh? This has never happened before. At best, at previous cases, the neighbors would learn how to tolerate the playing. But this is something else. For a moment I felt so joyful that I was gonna hug her to say thank you for her kindness. Obviously I didn't do that, and I don't know why, but maybe I just thought that I'm still dreaming of something. I need to pinch myself because this was so surreal. Maybe it was a dream. I guess we'll never know. Yeah. We'll never know. Instead, I kept my composure and I thanked her for her kind, welcoming words and said goodbye. As she was already on her way, she turned to me and she said, "I almost forgot. Would you mind actually opening the front door window? Not everybody can hear you very well at the moment." What? Wow. Seriously? This has never happened. Usually the scene is much different. I've had quite a few intolerant neighbors in my time, and some of them would start knocking on the wall as soon as a particular hour hits. Maybe they wanted to watch quietly the TV show or who knows what. Some were sending aggressive notes through the mailbox, and some would just straight up stick them on my front door. I've had a couple of really intimidating ones that would actually come to the front door and would not stop knocking until I come out. And these were actually quite big and scary guys. And I seriously actually feared that they would hurt me in some way. Some would go the different route and they would actually complain to the authorities, complain to the landlord, and actually even threaten my status as a tenant in the particular place that I was living in. What all these had in common was that fundamentally they kept me in a constant state of stress about practicing on my own instrument. This is definitely not a good headspace to be in, especially when you're supposed to be relaxed and you're supposed to be letting these creative juices flow, if you like. So I thought in this video it's really important to talk about how should you deal with such problems and what would be the best solution for you. Before we proceed though, my name is Evgeny Genchev, and on here I share my knowledge and experience both as a performer and as a teacher, as well as some performances of mine in order to help you on your musical journey and in fulfilling your music potential. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and ring that bell notification so that you never miss a video. Now, let's get back to it. The very first thing that you need to do is inform yourself. Do a little bit of a research. What are the hours in which you can legally make noise in the type of residential area that you live in? This is important to all the next points because you need to know how far you can really push it. The second thing, if you're renting, make sure you speak to the landlord about playing an instrument. If you own the place, then I guess lucky you, or actually on the second thought, that must really suck. Perhaps then speak to the caretaker or whoever is responsible for the building and make sure that you're on the same page. The third thing that you need to do is be friendly. When you move into a new place, make sure you introduce yourself to the neighbors. Don't be the person who moves in, throws a huge flat warming party without warning anyone, and then goes on banging away a Prokofiev concerto. You know who you are. Speak with them and tell them you're a musician. And now, here's the important part. Be kind and friendly, but also make sure that you stand your ground. Don't let people bully you. Up to this point, I've never been lucky with my neighbors. If I haven't made that clear, yeah, I haven't been. So don't assume that people will be okay with listening to your daily sweet struggle. It probably doesn't comply with theirs. That's where step 1 and step 2 come really handy. You need to know how far legally you can push it. Of course, try to be accommodating, but remember that if you don't like what you're agreeing on from the very start, then it's only gonna get worse. If this whole process makes you somehow feel guilty, you don't want to upset people and all that, then please remember, if there was a construction site next door, nobody would come to them and ask them what they thought or how they felt. Instead, they would just utilize all the allowed hours during the weekdays and during the weekends. So the bottom line is, be kind, but also look out for your interests. Number 4 is equip yourself with a neighbor-friendly piano. This is another term that I've reserved, if you're wondering, like the Langlanesque. So neighbor-friendly. It's pretty self-explanatory. It stands for a piano that keeps your neighbors happy. Or in other words, a piano that doesn't make much noise. So what are those neighbor-friendly pianos?
What are those?
One of the options that falls into this category is getting a digital keyboard. In recent years, the digital keyboards have become much more sophisticated. Both the touch and the sound have become much more refined and precise. They're good for beginners and at the same time are not too large of an investment. Also, if you would record pop, you have limited space, or you would like to transport it easily, then digital pianos are the name of the game. That being said though, if you want to develop fully as a pianist, then this is not a permanent solution. The sensation of it, the physicality and the production of sound are not like they are on an acoustic piano. Besides, depending on what brand you're using, a very little percentage of the sound samples are actually of an acoustic piano. The majority of them are computer generated. As a result, you won't really get a fully realistic sound. That also means that the piano wouldn't really produce ugly sound. It's not really you having the touch of an angel. Hate to break it to you. So if you use it long term, you could become probably a bit less sensitive to the natural sound production, and your control over the attack of the keys may deteriorate, or maybe just not develop any further. Okay, that's all well and good, but how do we then not play that much on a digital keyboard, and at the same time avoid the limitations and the angry neighbors that come with the option of acoustic piano. Is there any solution? Maybe move to the moon or Mars. There's no air or atmosphere, so the sound technically shouldn't carry all the way to the neighbors, right? There are a couple of options. Some upright pianos have a middle pedal that acts as a mute. This basically drops a layer of felt in front of the hammers on the way to the string, so it makes the sound much more muffled. This will still produce sound, however, so it doesn't fully resolve the issue. Another option is getting a hybrid piano. That normally means an acoustic piano with an added silent system to it. Let me clarify this. This is a real piano with the hammers, the strings, and the full package. However, you can press a button or a pedal or whatever it is that activates the mechanism, and then this drops in front of the hammers and prevents them from hitting the strings and producing any sound whatsoever. Then you can put your headphones or put the sound out through the loudspeakers, and you would play it as you would do with a digital keyboard. Many companies have their own versions of this, and normally it either comes with a piano or you can install it separately on your own existent piano. As soon as I discovered this was my go-to option in London, because obviously I didn't live in a mansion, and it was amazing. It's like having the ultimate cheat code against your neighbors. Bechstein has their own system called Vario that actually uses sound samples that are recorded off of the Bechstein concert grand. So if you have an upright piano, you might even prefer to play with the mute on, because then you get the experience of a concert grand. And on top of that, it has Bluetooth and its own app. So you can actually control everything from either the control unit at the piano, or you can link it to your phone or your tablet and you can control it from there. This to me is super convenient, and it's really it makes total sense, and it really is the way things should be. Ultimately though, the choice between any type of piano depends on your situation, the space available, and what you intend to use the piano for. So make sure you make a conscious decision about it and compare all the different types. The fifth option is move to Budapest. Okay, what I mean to say is that you should be looking for a place that has no neighbors, meaning that it's a house that is fully detached, or you look for a place with neighbors that enjoy music or can at least tolerate it. Even if it's not the ideal place, if music means a lot to you and you want to be consistent with your practice, rather than gradually becoming more bitter and fearful of the whole experience, you should look for a place which has a music-friendly environment. There, I'm sure that your Swiss struggles will flourish. That's all for today, guys. I hope you found this video useful, and I would love to hear what your stories and experiences with Neighbours have been. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button if that's something that you're into, and I would like to say thank you so much for watching. It was lovely that you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.